everyone, welcome to the live video today. I wanted to follow up on one of the videos that I did last week with the connection breath, but also one of the posts I did about keeping your ribs and pelvis in line and why you need to do that. So, it's been a quick one, but I made this awesome diagram or model of your core, and this is the second one because the first one my lovely 3-year-old pulled apart, and it's not perfect, so we'll just work with what we've got. So what I want you to imagine is this is your diaphragm and your rib cage, this is your pelvis and pelvic floor, and this is that diastasis that you have, or the connection between your abs. So here's your rectus abdominis, these are your obliques, your transverse abdominis come in and around. Okay, so very exciting core. We know we've talked about when you squeeze or suck in, your diaphragm goes, your pelvic floor goes, ignore that. So we don't want to suck in, but look what happens if you're out of a line. So if your pelvic does a anterior pelvic tilt, see what happens to your diastasis here. Look, it gets stretched. Now, do you remember the email that I sent around about the connective tissue experiment I did? What happened with the rubber band that was, or the hair tie, that was stretched and stayed stretched? It was the one that didn't recoil, okay? So this is what's really important, is if you are continually in this anterior pelvic tilt and there is a continual pressure on your diastasis to open, it's not going to heal, because it doesn't matter that you do 15 minutes of exercise every day if the rest of the time there's this pressure happening on here, okay? So this is what we're wanting to work on. We're wanting to work on bringing ourselves in line, because when our rib cage is over our pelvis, then it connects your core so that it actually turns on the core's ability to connect. So when you breathe, the pressure goes, when you inhale, your diaphragm goes down, your pelvic floor goes down, everything connects, and then when you exhale, everything goes back. Okay, so it all recoils. Now what happens is if you rib flare, all right, so now our ribs are flaring and you've got this pressure, now everything's out of a line, so when you inhale, it doesn't connect with your pelvic floor, which means when you exhale, we don't have that recoil. And the same when you are in a posterior pelvic tilt. So let's see if we can work that one out. So if we're in a posterior pelvic tilt, see how this bulges? That's because a posterior pelvic tilt, so when you're tucking your bum under like this, that is putting that pressure on the pelvic floor. So again, your breath won't connect, so you won't get that same recoil and heaviness, but you're continually putting pressure on your pelvic floor. And your pelvic floor is the same as your diastasis. It's connective tissue. So that continual pressure on there is going to make it weaker and pull it apart, which is why if you're continually in a posterior pelvic tilt, you're likely to get pelvic floor issues and leakage. So we're wanting to get into the most stable position, which is ribs aligned over pelvis, okay? So I want you to think about that. So think about that connection breath when you inhale, everything expands and the pelvic floor drops, but when you exhale, everything recoils. And when you're exhaling, I want you to think about exhaling from your pelvic floor up, okay? Not from your diaphragm down. And it's kind of a complicated thought process for this, but what you're trying to do is you're trying to flatten your lower abdominals. So let's see if I can try and do this for you. If you so we inhale, get that good back expansion, our ribs go out to the side, Our stomach fills, pelvic floor's down. Now when I exhale, if I exhale downwards, see how this bolt starts to bulge, okay? And what we want to do is inhale and exhale so that this comes up and flattens. So it's like doing your TVAs, right? So when you exhale and your TVAs engage, everything tightens in your lower abdominals. So I want you to work really hard on that this week. And please post if you have any questions below. Remember, your core is the most strong. I think I had it up this way before. Your core is the most strong when it's in line. We do not want to tilt because that's putting pressure on our diastasis. We do not want to rib flare because that's doing it. And we do not want to belly breathe because that's pushing pressure in here as well. Okay? Connection breath, where everything aligns, is what's going to help you recover faster and make your core stronger. Okay, I'll see you next week. And as always, post questions below and I will answer them later. Okay, bye.